issue of discussion where it's less than 5 days to the conduct of November 11 governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi, and the atmosphere is getting more charged. And ahead of the elections, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered the distribution of 220 operational vehicles for election security management. Now, the force also deployed anti-riot equipment, including water cannons, armored personnel carriers, helmets, bulletproof vests, and tear gas canisters. Now, the Inspector General has redeployed the Imo State Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Barde, ahead of the election. And this followed complaints by the Labour Party and some civil society organizations over an assault on the president of the NLC, Joe Ajaero. Before we get to the issue of Mr. Joe Ajaero, GKB, let me quickly ask you this. Now, with the extensive security measures now being deployed for these elections, how do you see this, perhaps impacting on the electoral process? What are your thoughts, first off?
These are off-season elections. We have enough resources to tackle them efficiently because we are not really stretched thin when we are doing 36 states and Abuja. So we tend to do well, security-wise, at these elections. And if you look down history, you'll see that it's very rare for results of off-season to be as contentious as those indicated elections are. So I have no doubt that there will be enough security. My fear is this. The IG has created a lacuna. And that's the danger for policemen. Because I have nothing against him moving officers around. But I'm against the fact that to give the impression that some people can bully the police into changing his personnel. I know it's not popular opinion, but that's my opinion. Because the moment you start doing this, it's to be expected in other states that they can also bully the police, whoever is the CP, to be moved away. This is not agreeing to whatever intelligence that the police high commander has, or Mr. Barde. I don't know it and I don't care. But sometimes in management, you look at the long-term effects of short-term wins. Because this will be a short-term win. Because at the end of the day, after this election, some people will still complain. It doesn't matter who these new CPs. Some people are just wired to complain. Even sometimes complain against themselves, even after they've won. So me, that's the only downside I see to this. Every other thing is fine. We tend to do well off-season because you have enough resources, you have enough manpower, and everybody is focusing on those very few states. So there are things you do in the general elections you don't do at this particular thing. So that's my take on it.
And talking about the off-season elections where we have, the downside rather about this, do you see this perhaps, Emeka, affecting voter turnout in terms of the extensive security measures being deployed in these states?
Yeah, I think so. I think voter turnout will be low because, the rhetoric also being deployed is really incendiary. It's dangerous. You see some people, paid writers, you see the things they're posting online. It's, justifying attacks on people, calling people names. And I even wonder, the police, are they not seeing all those things? It's not just about deploying 22,000 vehicles. You see people who are writing things, posting things that can set their states ablaze. And they're working for different candidates. And can't you call these people, can't you pull them in, get them arrested and interrogated? Because people hiding behind amorphous groups and all that. I even had to caution one the other day. I said, these things you write and put on Facebook, do you want your state to burn to ashes? Why do you write these things? So the police commissioner, there had been complaints about him, that he looked away from certain things that were happening in Imo State, even though the IG has said that he was not indicted. But I think also the security agencies should play their roles properly. They should play their roles properly. It's not just about deploying thousands of police officers. There should be definite action before elections. Because it's worrisome that the judiciary is now the one deciding on, who actually won which election. I think INEC too needs to sit up. INEC needs to really make Nigerians believe, increase the faith that Nigerians have in it.
Right.
Because it's not right that, people spend so much on elections, on electioneering, and then it's the courts that have to decide who won an election.
We've been discussing the off-cycle elections with regards to the security measures extended in the states, Bayelsa and Kogi states. So we're discussing about the intimidation, the impact, rather, Emeka, about what these security measures would have on voters in terms of participation. And you have given us your perspective on this, so you can quickly wrap up on that aspect.
I think, I was talking about INEC, that INEC needs to sit up, seriously. INEC has really disappointed a lot of people in different areas, that's one. Two, the security agencies should be more proactive. It's not just about deploying thousands of people. You need to work on intelligence. People who are deploying dangerous rhetoric, and then, who are those shooting at candidates? One of the candidates in Imo State was talking about how his convoy came under fire from thugs. Is it that the police are not seeing these things? They should, please, let us be. I mean, stop trying. We are not foolish. Nigerians are not foolish. You hear of a candidate being attacked. Nobody is arrested. Nothing comes out of it. So why?
To sit up to
Why? People are holding rallies. The rallies are attacked. Campaign offices are burnt. Party secretariats are burnt. Why all of this? It's because, you see, we also need to, over time, make sure that we remove that lucrative, portion of politics. Because that's what's driving many people crazy. They just believe, by all means, they should get into politics.
Into power.
You saw Chief Afebalola was saying the other day that politics is the most lucrative business, is the most lucrative venture in Nigeria. That's why people can, kill to get into office. And it's wrong.
Yeah,
it should be about service.
It's wrong, GKB, in as much as this is wrong. I think I remember this video being circulated, I think a week ago, by the APC deputy governorship candidate in Bayelsa, where he was making an insightful comments that, anyone that wants to die, that kind of, statement. And no one would take that seriously. And it really came under fire. He was criticized on social media and all of that. Nothing has been done with regards to this. But going forward into these elections, what do you hope to see, ensuring that the rights of the people are protected, the sanctity of the rule of law is protected, and people's choice definitely will be heard on the elections day?
Those are very big words. Two things. Election violence has been with us as long as I can remember, even older than me. There were election violence in 51, election violence in 54, there was violence in 59, before the big wet year of 64. So we've always have these problems. So what's the solution? I wish I knew. Because you bring in federal police, people who are complaining then, because they were regional police. You scrap the regional police. We now say, let's bring police from other parts of the country who have no stake, who have no dog in the fights. But we all know that when it comes to money, we all have dogs in that fight. So all the solutions we've given to stop election violence has failed. I know I've been a skeptic, but that's the reality. We've been doing this for 60 years. Even in India, that are older in democracy than us, people still die. But the problem is that all these are under control. I think what we need to do about election is, like Emeka said, make it transparent, free and fair.
How do we do that?
Basically, make sure there's substantive compliance with the law. Nobody expects 100%. Even in the US. As of yesterday, there's still a court case of somebody trying to ensure that they draw a map that will cut off the black majority and keep the place for the white people. So only the white areas will be controlling it. Because once they know they create that, the black will go to another party. So nobody's going to come from heaven to change that reality. Politicians will be politicians. What I'm concerned about is substantial compliance. And then people will believe, fine, we have issues. But 70%, 90% was okay. You can take it. Then we can move forward. But when you have a case where people have made up their mind that it's either my way or the highway, we will not solve this problem. Because a lot of people know politicians are the most optimistic people I know. Even when it was obvious that he can never win, he will still tell you he's going to court because he assumed that he has won. Because both sides have to know the law must be obeyed, but people also accept defeat. If, imagine these elections, the three of them, the people who lost out simply said, okay, fine, I have reservations, but I'm accepting the result. I'm not going to court. Let's move on. Imagine doing that for 2-3 electoral cycles. This thing will die out.
Right.
But now people are made up. Lawyers are already lining up for elections that have not been held. So like I said, there is no easy fix for this problem. We've been doing it for 60 years. People have been snatching boxes before I was born. People have been burning houses before some of us were born. I'm not talking about something that started in this year or 2015, no. Politicians have always been doing this. Ekiti is the most homogeneous sub-ethnic state in Nigeria. They are brothers. They have the same language, they have the same accents, they have the same dialects. They still snatch boxes. I mean, you can't blame that on ethnic differences now. There are places like Safara that is 99% Muslim. They still do it. So it cannot be religious. So it's in us.
Besides being in us, Emeka, final thoughts on this. How can we address this issue?
Yeah, like I said, remove the incentives in politics, because the incentives are even getting bigger. Even the First Republic, even in pre-independence Nigeria, we had these problems. Now, with more money being available to different tiers of government.
And less choices.
And less choices. So people are becoming more desperate. So I think the incentives, the National Assembly needs to really look into the Electoral Act. But the problem is that you find out that the lawmakers, the National Assembly members will always want to look after their own interest. In the belief that, okay, there's 80% chances that I'll benefit from this. But unfortunately, every time they've had to amend the Electoral Act, you find out that a large number of them were kicked out of National Assembly. So why can't they just be patriotic for once and say, okay, let us deal with some of these issues, once and for all, whether it favors us or it doesn't favor us. Insofar as the interest of Nigerians is provided for, paramount, and we achieve those radical changes, the transformation of the electoral process, I think personal interest should just, be kept aside.
Patriotism is key. And with that, I'd like to thank my guests in the studio, Gani Kayode Balogun and Emeka Madunagu. Thank you so much for your insights on the program.